Hey all, Pixel here in Pebble Garage, and we're going to be doing some fixes and maintenance on the interior in the van and see how well it's held up after about 2 years. So I built the most of this interior a couple years ago. This was a conversion van with a gray and blue interior. I gutted it completely and built everything that you see here. I had never built an interior before. This was my first try at it, and overall, it's held up pretty well, but I'm going to go through some of the stuff that's going on that I'm going to be trying to fix in this video. The biggest and most obvious thing is the headliner has failed. All the fabric on this rear section have come unglued, and that one screw is keeping it all up. This section here, some of the fabric's glued, some of it's not, but the underlying panel has warped and is sagging. And then the front's mostly okay. It's got a little bit of a sag to it. And there's a couple spots where it's come unglued, but it's the best of the three. The rear speakers, this one's out because I was test fitting another one. But both of them were cheap Walmart ones, and they have both failed and are buzzy. I need to put new ends on and install the new ones. And we're going to kind of look at everything else a little closer and see what else needs to be done. That should have a new cover made for it. It's probably not going to happen in this video, but I do want to see if I can maybe make a panel for behind it to clean that up a little bit. Just stuff like that. It's going to be a lot of odds and ends to try and fix the major issues. The biggest thing I need to do is this. So I guess we're going to get to it. All right, got the first panel down, and let's do a little bit of looking here. So first off, none of this stayed up on its own. I believe it was a combination of tucked in and taped. And yeah, all the tape has completely failed. So this was also weighing down the roof that was helping it fall down. If I get off the drill and lay it down, it is warped. It's not just, like I knew, like this edge is bent because of how it was pressed, but like it goes up, down, up, down. So this whole piece of chloroplast is warped. It looks like there may have been some seaming. Maybe it got folded at some point. I don't think so, but yeah. And I did a little exploratory look. If I stick my hand in here, again, you probably can't see it well, but now I got white stuff and red stuff on my hand. The red stuff's from the carpet, not from the fabric. So I can't easily just stick this fabric back down because the whole sheet has got, and the fabric for that matter, have got the last attempt at glue on it. Looks like there's glue on both surfaces, so it wasn't just a simple, as it didn't stick to X surface. When I did this last time, I read a bunch of things that said, oh, for headliners, use Super 77. And I did 2 of these panels, and then, or at least one of these panels. And then basically, it didn't seem like it was staying on well once I put it up. And I went online, and it's basically, somebody was like, yeah, don't use Super 77 for headliners. It doesn't have the strength you need. So I went and bought Super 90, and I tried that, and that didn't work super great. And then eventually found that 3M makes a headliner adhesive and switched to that. And I believe that front panel is the headliner adhesive, which explains why it's doing the best out of all of them. There is a relatively flat area, as outlined there and over here, for the roof, that this extended slightly past, which is why this end ended up bent out. But I think that is flat enough that I can just switch to using thin veneer plywood, which is what I should have used in the first place. And then you see this really funky roof rib. That was a problem for me trying to get screws in, because trying to hit that accurately was really difficult because of how it goes blah, 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 blah. So my plan is, I've got some, I think, 2-inch wide aluminum strip, and I'm gonna screw that aluminum strip in multiple places so that it's secured to that, and then I'll have a nice wide place for me to sink screws in, and I'll do more across the center so that this span only has to support itself and that span has to only support itself. It's not either all of this has to support itself like on that one, nor is it even, there's one in the middle and, you know, a whole area all the way around that is unsupported. And I think that will do well. I'm going to try gluing up the Reflectix with the same headliner adhesive. I don't know how well it's going to work, but we'll give it a shot. And if I can find something maybe like the wire they use for drop ceilings or something like that, I might cut pieces of wire to go across to also support that. Like between, you know, tuck the wire in there, tuck the wire in down there so that they bridge across, even just a few of them. Pulled down the center panel and it definitely did better. Like I said, this is a different glue. This, I believe, might have been the this is at least Super 90. I think it was the headliner adhesive. And it's failed, but it's failed occasionally. It wasn't all of it. It wasn't the fabric bowing. It was the plastic itself is deformed. And it's failed a little bit, like there's wrinkles here and there. But I suspect that a lot of that failure is due to this thing warping as much as it did. Because, yeah, see if I flex it the other way, you can see, I think, better the wrinkles. I think on this one I'm going to try putting that strip in the center and securing this to it first before I go full bore and replace this. And if that fixes it, I will call that good enough, like with the front one. So that, yeah, the middle one's going to get reinstalled once I deal with the ceiling. This one's going to get remade. I'm going to have to, I can see where this bent. And once I have the middle one in, I'll double check my measurements, but this is going to get shortened up by the amount needed so that the ply will sit in here rather than bent around this curve. And then with the fabric washed, I can re-glue it onto the ply and I should be good. Got some supplies, we're working on reinstall. So like that one there, I sprayed the liner on there and on the ceiling, stuck it up, and then this is this stuff, hanging wire. You get it by the drop ceilings, and there's a loop of it stuff in there, and then it's kind of put across in a way that it kind of tensions and then stuffed in over here, and that should hold that up pretty good. We can do the same thing over there. Progress. Those are all glued up. There's pieces of the wire holding it in. What I did was bent a loop and then bent that loop 90 degrees and tucked it in one side in a way that the curve went this way, measured out to the other side, bent it down and sort of around so it had a little like hook, and then tucked that in. So that's now kind of keeping everything up. It's not like perfect because that stuff bends so easily, so some places it's a little low and whatnot, but it's definitely holding tension up there. These are all up, and I've put these strips on so now I can much more easily hit a relevant part with a screw. So at this point, I'm going to put the middle one back in again if I can remember which. I just realized I have no idea which is the front and which is the back, so that might be interesting. But I'm going to put that one back in, see how well it goes back in, so I know whether or not it's going to need to be remade. And then I think I'm done for the night because the fabric is still drying and it is dark in here, but I have my plywood for tomorrow. So, hey, getting there. All right, so we've been cutting the new replacement panel. I laid that one on it so that this corner of the two curves was up against the edge, and then basically traced this because it arcs in, evened out these wrinkles from trying to cut coroplast. This stuff, because of the way it's made, it's very hard to cut this way across it cleanly, especially not at a like 90 degree or whatever. And then, so we traced that. We cut it out at 48 inches across, and then now, because I have to move it in slightly, so because this doesn't curve down the way the old one did, we just measured from that lip to here in a couple places, figured out our average number. It's been marked across. Now I gotta slice that as straight as I can and then test fit it again, make sure it fits where it should, and then I can wrap it in the velvet, which is over here. It went through the wash, and that took pretty much not all of the glue, but enough of the glue that you can't feel the like glue anymore on it. So I'm pretty confident that this will stick well. All right, I did a bunch without filming it because it's the same stuff as the video when I did this the first time mostly. But piece of wood, got the edges sanded so that they were smooth, and then this is the exact same piece from before. You can see the shortened bit here. Glued it down just like I did before, except I used the 3M headliner adhesive this time. Hopefully it will stick well to the wood. Probably stick better to the wood than it did to the plastic because the wood's a little bit more porous, so the glue is something to grab onto. We did make a mistake. The distance between here and there is just around 46.5. The van's not completely parallel. That back has got a very, very slight curve to it. She told me it was 46.5 and a little bit. I thought I told her to mark it at 46.5. She heard that I marked it at said to mark it at 46, was confused, asked me, I don't know which of us heard it wrong or said it wrong because both of us have ADD. So the end result is that panel's a ½ an inch shorter than it should be. So, you know, when it's fitted correctly over there, there's going to be a ½ an inch gap over here. Because that used, you know, more than half of that piece of plywood, there's no way to fix it. So the solution that I've come up with is I'm going to screw another piece of aluminum all the way across. Like, this is 48 inches, so there's a little gap on the side. I cut one that's the full 57 for here. It's going to get screwed across here to make this area a nice wide area to screw to. And then I'm going to buy another piece of plywood and replace this, which I should be doing because this, and I'm going to make this a ½ an inch wider and fix it that way. A little annoyed by that, but like I said, I don't know which of us got it wrong because both of us have AED. Who knows which of us got it wrong? You know, at least even odds it was me. So I'm not annoyed at her. I'm just frustrated that it happened. But that's going to fully dry for a couple hours, I think. And then we're going to install it. That's going to require drilling out all the existing screw holes through here. Like, you know, there's a hole right here where the old screw was. I'm going to have to drill that through the wood. Same with all the ones down the side, and then this here edge, they're going to be new holes because, you know, the fabric's shorter. Hopefully this will come together and look decent. I'm not worried about perfection because it wasn't perfect before. If it's an improvement, I call that good. There's a little bit of damage to that fabric from like having loaded things in the van over the last couple of years and like scraped the roof, but it'll still look presentable enough, and I may go in with like a red fabric paint or something to just hide them because you can see the white backing is the only way you can see that. But I am making progress. It's also so goddamn hot. I've done nothing physically difficult and I am sweating like I've run a marathon. So yeah, I'm gonna go inside and cool off for a bit while that dries and then come back out here. Back at it again. This is all dry now. Seems to have stuck down reasonably well. There is some marks from the clothespins, but I think those will come out with a bit of brushing. I was just going through with a red Sharpie, trying to like minimize the look of the places where there is damage. Here's the other big one. This is the other big spot over here. I don't know how visible that even is on camera. It's a little more visible in person probably. But what I did was color it in with the Sharpie and then wiped it. You can see I got a lot of the red back out, so it only really stuck in the deepest parts. So what I got to do now is put that strip up in here, and then I can work on fitting that panel back up. Getting those lights in the right place is going to be interesting. All right, well, that went okay. It's in fine. The only real problem is somehow I thought I had screwed that piece of metal in tight up against the other one, but somehow I hadn't. But whatever, that gap's gonna be covered when I remake the other one. The only real other problem I had is I kept snapping screws there, and I snapped this one and this one. I think if I just go up one drill bit size, assuming I can find one in that size, I think that'll solve the problem. I think I'm just trying to get the number 8 screw into a little bit too small a hole. And when it's just going into steel here as opposed to a layer of aluminum and then just a little bit of steel over there, it's a little too much for it. But it's in and it's solid and it looks good. This was the original hole that was there. It is nowhere near, even after shifting everything. Actually, I think I might have needed to shift everything this way for it to work. I think I got that backwards between turning it over and whatnot. But I put a screw in it just to close up the hole, and then that one and that one are actually doing something to hold the center. I think it'll be fine because the wood itself is self-supporting in a way that the plastic wasn't. Got my little lights back in. The fit here is different because this curves a lot more to follow the roof than this can. But once that's in, it'll be fine. And over there, whatever. Not worrying about it right now. So it looks presentable again. I may do this tomorrow. I may wait till another time. At the very least, the back is no longer saggy and gross. And this is now at least up again enough that it's not going to sit on the head of people sitting in the seats back here. So I need to get connectors for the speaker, so I can't do this tonight. I need to get more wood if I want to do that other side. What else can I work on? Oh, the cup holder. So these cup holders, I got one there, one here, and one that's normally over there. These are out of I believe a Honda Odyssey. I'll put below exactly what these come out of. Somebody suggested these as a good fold-away cup holder. They're actually really nice because they fit flat. You just have to cut a slot basically and a square. Like this is the minimum it needs. Is it needs a square and two little slots. And if you really want to, you can cut off this and this, and then you just need the sort of square that this fits through. But this one, I don't know if it shows on camera, but it's pretty grody and like there's a lot of scratches and wear in there. And the actual latch itself on this one's worn out, so it will latch, but the slightest bump and it'll pop open, so it's always hanging open. So I got another one, the junkyard, that looks like it's in better shape and latches better. Like I banged on it first before I took it out because I knew what I was looking for. All right, new day and we're back at it. So this was so I don't remember exactly where I left you all yesterday, but I was talking about replacing that cup holder that didn't stay closed. This is the replacement one. I was going to swap the cover from that one that was painted onto this one, and then I remembered I had a little bit of the vinyl dye paint left, so I ended up just painting this one. So now it matches reasonably well. I touched these up a little bit. This one had really bad scratches on it, and this one had some issues, and I didn't get everything on this one. It looks like I might come back and hit those areas again to see if I can fully touch them up. I thought I had, but apparently I had either I hadn't or I bumped into it while it was still wet. But either way, this one is now a functional, fully functional one that stays closed and matches. Like I said, these are out of, I believe, a Honda Odyssey, I think, and they're nice because they are fully self-contained. This one needs a good washing because I apparently never washed it when I took it out of the car at the junkyard. But yeah, that's going to go over there. That'll solve that problem. I won't have a cup holder hanging open all the time. I did realize I can't do this panel right now because I can't make this longer because the material's only so long. So I'm going to have to order more material to remake this panel. It's good enough for now. That gap's not great, but I can live with it. It's still better than what was in here. That's been cleaned and installed. I'm working on the speakers now. So I got the connectors I was looking for, which were these narrow ones, because some of the connectors on these speakers take those. Problem is, I've replaced that speaker, crimped on new connectors, and this is the old original speaker that was over here that I've pulled out and confirmed the connectors are good on, but I have nothing at the back. It's on full fade to rear, so one or both of these should have sound, and I'm getting nothing. And I remember routing the wiring under these panels with there's another connector somewhere, because the factory wiring is for a speaker about here. And I'm not sure if that's the problem, if the radio's a problem, what's going on, but I have zero back here. Last time I had anything back here, that speaker had a buzz, which is why that one was disconnected. And this speaker had nothing, so the problem. It's one of these. So it's those connectors that are bad. up here, what I can't tell is whether my solder job sucked or whether they got even hotter in here pressed up against the skin of the van and melted even further. I'm going to assume the former, clean all this off, re-solder it, put new connectors on, and sleeve it with a piece of heat shrink that'll hold everything together, and hopefully that will solve this issue. So I'm realizing part of the problem is this speaker wire that I'm using is so incredibly cheap and thin that it's just tearing, like the wire itself. Trying to uncrimp it, I'm just tearing the wire up. So what I've decided I'm going to do, assuming I can figure out what the hell it's hooked on over here, tape, is I'm going to pull just regular wire through and replace the speaker wire entirely with regular wire, and then I can actually get this to seal properly. I can do a good job of crimping the ends on. I was having trouble getting the ends crimped on over there, and I think that'll solve my radio woes, just because it's cheap, thin speaker wire out of the equation. All right, well, I got both speakers in. That one's all basically put back together. This side, the speaker's in, but I haven't put it back together, and they're working fine now. New wires, new connectors. Made sure I got the polarity right, and sounds fine. So cool. Now I have 4-speaker stereo again. Since I'm in here, this is the rock wool. It has stayed in place well. I had to split the thickness of it because my walls weren't that thick. That's why it looks weird. So I had to peel it in half. But it has stayed stuck up with just the basic adhesive. It hasn't gotten weird or gross or anything. It's shedding a little bit, but I'm pretty sure that's 90% because of what I did splitting it. Yeah, so I'm pretty happy with that. I do have to go and attempt to re-glue this edge some. That one was not great. This one's really bad. Let's see if I can sort of stick more of that down, at least temporarily, and then I'll be able to do reassembly. Yeah, I'm making progress. I'm happy. These are all little things that have been annoying me for a while, and each individual one just something I kept putting off, but I think doing them all at once like this is actually good because I'm getting a great sense of accomplishment, and I'm going to be able to see the difference and feel and hear the difference now pretty thoroughly. It's about a month later, and the reason for the delay is I had to order more fabric to do this middle panel, because I don't know if I mentioned, because it's been so long, but I realized I couldn't just remake this and extend it slightly because of the problem of pre-existing holes in fabric length and whatnot. So I've got more red velvet over there. Unfortunately, it's now a little bit darker than what's in here because this is sun faded. I don't know how much this is going to show up in the camera, but there's actually a pretty significant difference between those two reds. So I need to go back and take a quick look and make sure this is the same red and it's just faded versus I ordered the wrong one. So I'm going to go check that and I'll be right back. Okay, never order anything from ifabric.com. I ordered some stuff from there. Thought I was happy with it, and now I know they fucked me. So I ordered their red crushed velvet when I did this interior in 2022, and I got this stuff which, in the pictures looked much closer to the color of this vinyl, which was sourced from somebody else. So when I got it in, I kind of looked at it and I was like, wow, that's a lot lighter than I thought it was. But, you can't trust the little picture on the website. Oh well, my own fault. Should have ordered a sample first. And went with it and did my entire interior in it. Thought nothing of it. And then when I needed to replace that panel, I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to order another big batch of it because I can do that panel and then I can do a couple of other things that I've kind of thought about doing, but I haven't been able to because I didn't have any more fabric. I basically used up all but a very small amount of the velvet I previously ordered. So I literally went to the email from 2022, selected copied the name, went to their website, pasted it in, and, searched for it, found that, and it was the exact same thing from my bookmark from 2022. I just want to be very clear. I did this 2 ways because I wanted to make sure I was getting the right stuff. So I ordered it. So I went and looked at their website again just now. And that color, the new one, the darker one, it's a really good match for the color on the website. Which means that in 2022, when I ordered it all, they fucked up and sent me the wrong fabric. And then now, when I went to reorder the exact same thing, they sent me the right fabric. It fucked me over. So I really don't know what to do right now. I might just have enough here to... No, I don't. I don't think I do. No, I don't. I was about to say, I might have just enough to redo the whole roof in the new color, but I don't. I have just too little to do the roof in the new color. Because of the fabric width, it's a 48 inch, or 50, it's 40, low 40, high 50. Don't think I can do this the other way on the panel because this panel is 58 inches. If I remember right, the roof, if I remember correctly, this is 58, right? Yeah, 58. And this is not. Yeah, because I remember this from before. This is 29 and 29, 40, 50. This is 58, but with no fudge room is the problem. That was the problem. Is it is 58 inches across, but it's 58 absolute edge to edge. So I would have to get it absolutely perfectly positioned to not have some of this white fringe visible on one edge or both. I have a bunch more of the vinyl, so I'm gonna go look at their return policy and see if I can just return the new velvet, and I'm not gonna bother to order more from them because fuck that. But what I think I might do is take more like that aluminum, maybe some of this ply, but probably aluminum, and wrap it, make some like 2-inch strips, and basically do 2 bows across the roof where those panels meet. And the front one will be doing nothing, but the rear one will be bridging the 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, whatever it is, gap over here, and hiding that. And I think that's going to be my best choice for making it look as good as possible. All right, another day. We're going to work on the pieces across the roof to hide my gap. The problem is, this is the bit I cut off when I cut the other one. The width of the roof is 58 1/4, and I cut this at an angle to preserve that bigger piece. So I suspect that by the time I cut 2 strips out of this and clean them up, one of them at least is going to be way too short. But I'm going to try anyway. I'm going to get the table saw in. This is 5 inches here. My cut's not quite straight. I knew that. So I think what I'm going to be able to do is get 2 2.5 inch strips out of this. Once I've ripped those down, I will test fit in the van, see how bad it is. Because that's going to be sticking down from the roof, I'm not just wrapping it in fabric the way I've done the rest of the interior. I've got some headliner foam from another project that I'm gonna wrap that in that and then wrap it in the vinyl that I have above. Yeah, I think that's where it is. That way it'll be a little bit thick, it'll stick down a little bit, but that'll mean if somebody, you know, scrapes their head along the roof, they don't get the edge of a piece of wood in their forehead. They get, you know, it's going to be protected by foam. I'm also going to round the edges on that board a lot more than I do with the other ones for the same reason, so there's not a sharp edge there. So I think with that it'll be fine. I think it'll look right because the rest of the interior is the vinyl and velvet, so I think 2 vinyl strips across the roof will look like it's supposed to be there. All right, so it's more than enough to, okay, no, that'll work fine. So I'm test fitting this, and it looks like I'm going to be fine because if I have that hard against over there, it's actually up under the panel over there because the roof goes under a bit that way and under a bit this way, this padded section I built. So I should be able to basically take the shortest point on the shortest one, cut both of them across at that, and then that'll make a piece that'll look just fine up there. So that solves that problem. That one sanded, I rounded all the edges, rounded the corners. So I've got it pushed into that end to hold that end up, and there's a little gap over here, so gently centering it should be just fine. I got my leftover material from when I did this and discovered I had remembered wrong. This is the only piece of vinyl I have, but I have a ton of velvet. I just don't have any huge sections. Some of these are really tiny. Like I saved every little piece like this in case I wanted to make a small cover somewhere. But there are some larger pieces in here. There's just nothing large enough, even remotely, to redo that center panel. So what I'm going to have to do is go inside where I can lay this out cleanly and figure out what I have to work from. I'm getting stuff done. These got cut, the ends got sanded around and then curved. I drilled holes for screws. I should not have flipped that over. I should not have flipped that over. Then it got covered in this, which is this car headliner stuff. It's basically, you know, boring headliner material on one side and foam on the other. It was for part of this project interior, but I bought a ton of it because it was on clearance. So I covered it with that and with enough to wrap over the edges. Now I've got a piece of this that's actually long enough. I think I'm happy enough with that. That's good enough. But yeah, that's going to be my little cover up. Got some screws, got them in. There's that one. There's that one. This one, aside from this screw, covers all the screws. This one over here covers the screws on this side, but not on this side. It sits at a slight angle because this one is thicker than this one and this one compresses where this one doesn't. But I will accept it as a reasonable result. These are all in that aluminum strip. Those over there, the center one is in a piece of aluminum that was put there because that other screw I showed you is offset and wasn't in anything. The other ones are just basically in the plastic of the front panel, but that's more than solid enough. So that's my fix. I'm gonna have to decide that's good enough. And it does look good. It looks intentional, which is the most important part. That bugs me. Yeah, so it bugs me that it's wrong, but that solves the inherent issue of there's a big gap over here and it looks like it's supposed to be there. So I will take it. I do, now that I've made these padded, kind of wish I'd made more of this padded. So I'm glad I did it at the end, not earlier on, and made a bunch more work for myself. So that's going to be it for now. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.